Welcome everyone to Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton, and we have a special treat for you today. We're going to be talking today to one of my favorite Titans. They call him Tippy Toes. That would be Mr. Chris Sanders. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I ain't your favorite Titan. You like Henry, you like Eddie George, you like Steve McNair. Come on, man. You ever watch Different Strokes, man? And when Gary Coleman they would say something crazy to Gary Coleman, like, "What you talking about, Willis?" That's what I'm saying to you. What you talking about, Willis? What's going on with you, man? You good? You ready for the season?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ready to see what them Titans gonna do, them Jaguars and
right,
Colts, and all the whole AFC South. I'm ready for the end.
Straight up bananas.
Yeah, definitely gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So, definitely want to talk about that. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is you and your career and some things that you experienced or went through. Of course, with training camp, some of the players that you were around. First off, of course, you were drafted third round in 1995.
Dang, I sound old. I had more hair too, man. had a cul-de-sac, so I had to cut it. So I'm good.
Can you explain the feeling when you were drafted by the Houston Oilers?
It was surreal. You dreamt about playing as a young kid, and actually, I want to share a little story. I remember when I was a young kid, I always played with this sock, and I would throw it up, and I would catch it, and I would visualize myself catching the pass in the end zone and falling in the end zone, whatever. So now in 1995, when I get drafted, we're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and the same way I was holding my hands, catching that sock was the same way I caught my first touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals. So when I actually got drafted, it was just one of those moments to where all the hard work and all the pain and all the blood, the sweat, and the tears, it was just so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming to see my dream come to fruition, because going through the process, it wasn't always pretty, because there was times where I wanted to quit. There's times where I wanted to throw in the towel. But when I got drafted, it was all well worth it.
I'm not gonna quote what you and Teron talk about with throwing in the towel.
Stop the fight! Don't throw in the towel. Stop the fight. Yeah,
man. Hey, I enjoy listening to y'all two cut up.
He crazy, man. That's my dude. That dude got a lot of knowledge, but man, he's so funny, man. That's my guy.
But yeah, being that your former team acquired Julio Jones this offseason, how are you excited about what they could do how excited are you about what they could do offensively this year?
I mean, if you look at last year, they were one of the top 10 offenses in the league without Julio Jones. You had A.J. Brown, you had Ferguson, you had Henry, you had a slew of and Davis. Don't forget Davis that went to the Jets. I mean, you already had a potent offense. So now you add Julio Jones to this prolific offense. It's just going to make everybody better. It's going to make A.J. Brown better. It's going to make Henry better. It's going to make Ferguson better. It's going to make Reynolds better. It's going to make all these guys better, is because that guy is one of those guys that makes everybody better. So, having him, man, it's just going to take a lot of pressure off those guys to allow those guys to make plays. So it's exciting. I know he's got hurt in camp, but I think he's going to be ready for the season. So I'm ready to see what these Tennessee Titans are going to do this year.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see, the run pass balance and if that gets altered or changed this year.
Yeah, who are you gonna key on? Because if you put 8 guys in the box and try to stop Henry, you go man to man with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So then now if you take away the pass and you keep a two safety look or a cover 4, I mean, how are you gonna stop Henry? So it's that 2-headed monster that's gonna really make defensive coordinators panic because who you gonna stop? So just say if you try to isolate and take away A.J. Brown, you got Julio Jones on the right. Now you try to take away the passing game, you got Henry. Then now we forgot about Evans from Appalachian State. That's a home run hitter. You go a 20 personnel. That's 2 backs, 0 tight ends, 3 wide receivers. You got Henry in the backfield. You got Evans in the backfield. You got A.J. Brown in here. You got Reynolds, or you might have Rodgers in the slot. And don't forget that Julio Jones cat. So it just shows you that, a lot of defensive coordinators are going to have a hard time to try to stop this offense.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see them try, or, maybe stay up late at night and pray and see how much they can pray to make it happen.
Yes, it's like that. It's like in high school, when the bully wanted to beat you up after school, you had to anticipate the whole day, like, oh my gosh, this ain't gonna work. I'm going to get beat up. That's the same thing. I mean, offensive coordinators are going to be like, oh, my gosh, I got to stop Henry. Oh, my gosh, I got to stop A.J. Brown. And then on the flip side, we got to understand that this is going to be a physical offense. I mean, if you look at their offensive line is big. You got Lewan, you got Saffel, you got Jones, you got a big physical offensive line. Then all of a sudden you got AJ Brown, who's big and physical. You got Julio Jones, who's big and physical. You have Reynolds, Josh Reynolds, who's big and physical. So this is not a team that's going to be a finesse. They're going to run through somebody's lips.
Yeah, they're gonna make it happen, and they better be prepared.
Yeah. They better be ready, boss. They better be ready. Not they better be ready. They better be ready. Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, of course, you played for a while, and you've been through a few training camps.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference from your first training camp to future training camps after you've been in the league for a little while?
I got older. Yeah. Our first training camp, I was like, happy go lucky, let's go to camp. The fourth camp, I'm like, man, when is this thing over? But the thing about it is camp was a little bit different than what it is today. Back in camp, man, we had 2 days. We were wearing pads every day. I mean, we're hitting receivers, hitting all that stuff. Today, if you actually blow on a defensive back, I mean, you can't even tackle anymore. So it's not the physical aspect is taken away. So I think the longevity of players are playing a little longer because the physical part of practice is not there. So, my first camp was hard, but if I'd have had the camps that they had today, man, I'll still be in the league.
I hear you. I mean, I definitely remember, the speed would definitely keep you in the league because definitely.
Oh, man, definitely. Man, I could pick him up and put him down, man. I was pretty fast.
Oh, I remember just seeing. I'm like, man, why did they not throw it to him? He's open. He's open.
Here's the thing, man. My rookie season, I led the league in yards per catch. I averaged 23.5. Only had 35 catches, but I had almost 900 yards. So that just shows you, what I can do. But you got to understand, when you draft a big guy, number 27, named Eddie George, you got to change the offense and revolve the offense around him. So we went from a passing team to a running team. And the thing about this, I wasn't upset because my whole goal was to try to make the Super Bowl. And in 1999, we did. So even though my role shifted a little bit, but my vision stayed the same.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned Eddie George, and, of course, there was a few players that you played with one of them being quarterback Steve McNair. What was it like being out there on the field with him, and what was one of your favorite memories of Steve?
Steve McNair, and I'm not just saying this, he's probably one of the toughest guys I've ever played with. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't that, bench pressing 225. He barely could lift it off the bench, but he was that country strong. Like, he just strong for no reason. I mean, it's just country. But here's one of the stories that I'll never forget. We were playing the Dallas Cowboys, and we're in the huddle, and he broke his finger. His finger was turned that way. I mean, this part right here was turned that way. So Frank Wycheck and Eddie George and all the guys were like, man, we need to call timeout and get you up out of here. And this is all they said. He was like, no, I'm good. That's how Kobe said. No, I'm good. Had that soft voice like Billy D. Williams in drinking Coke 45. No, I'm good. Kind of say it like that. And he calls the play, and he gets underneath center, and all you see is this. He pops it back in place. He takes the ball from the center, and he runs a 46-yard touchdown. That just shows you how mentally tough was, how physically tough was, and how special this guy was. Why? Because even though he was injured, he would not let that stop him from being what he wanted to be.
Man, that's a wow. I don't know if I could have did that because I will say this. I broke my last game of my senior year of high school. Yeah. I broke my ring finger, and it was out here.
Yeah,
it was out past that far, and it was turned this way.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I didn't go back there and keep playing at that point. No.
Oh, you're gonna see some tears. I'm gonna call timeout. I'm gonna call timeout so I can call my mama. And mama, I'm hurting right now. You gotta come get me. I'm not doing that, man. No.
I hear you there, man. I hear you there. So, I know camp is different, things like that. What is one of your most memorable moments that you had in camp?
Man, just how silly the players were. And I mean, how many, jokes were being played. And the biggest jokester was Bruce Matthews. Just imagine, he was a big old teddy bear, but on the field he'll tear your head off. I mean, he's one of those guys that we're in the game, and he'll hide somebody's helmet, and the guys running around on the sidelines trying to find his helmet, or he'll grab somebody's helmet before practice and pour Pepto-Bismol and syrup and flour in it, so when they put the helmet on, they got all the stuff coming down their face. So that's the thing I remember about camp, just guys that just big old kids and love being around each other. And that's why we were so successful in 1999 is because we had 53 guys that cared about each other. We have 53 guys that loved each other. We got 53 guys that were committed to the vision. So, we had fun, we worked hard, and we went through adversity. And all adversity was an opportunity to do something great. And when we moved here in 1998 or 1997, we went to Memphis and we got booed in Memphis when we were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm like, man, is this our hometown? And then we go to Vanderbilt where we struggled and didn't do well, but we were committed to the process. And then in 1999, when we got in the stadium, that's when we went to the Super Bowl. So that's what I miss. I miss the relationships, I miss the adversity that we went to, and I miss the love that we had from the players.
Yeah, man, that team was special. I remember the team and how the city just took them in, and my mom was literally like talking about, well, I got to go home and watch the Titans game. My mom likes sports, and I'm like, Mom, are you serious?
Cool, yeah, that's good, man. I mean, because we put a product on the field of unselfish. You had 53 guys that were unselfish, and if you look in our wide receiver room, we had me, Kevin Dyson, Derek Mason, Isaac Bird, Yancey Thigpen. We had guys that if you went to any other team, you were a number one wide receiver, but nobody cared. We just cared about winning. I mean, we just had guys that were committed to the role. When you have guys that are committed to the role, then you can do some good things. I mean, we didn't have a team that was committed to the process. We trusted in the process, and that makes a difference.
Right. I definitely understand that. One thing I'll say is, the goals of training camp. A lot of people look at those and say, hey, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to make this happen. What were some of the goals of training camp that, in your opinion?
I had some goals, but I was mad at everybody. I mean, when I first got in camp, because they said I wasn't going to get drafted. They said, we couldn't play in the NFL. So I was mad at everybody. I'm like, I don't know if this is right or not, but I'm like, I'm coming in and I'm taking somebody's position. I mean, I remember I had this veteran. I'm not going to say his name because he might try to look me up on Facebook and try to fight me. But we were in practice one time, and I just ran 3 reps in a row. And he was like, man, you need to run in, you need to get in there and do another. And I'm like, nah, why not just take your job? I mean, that was kind of my goal, was just I'm about to prove everybody wrong. And then when I get in the league, I come in and, in preseason, I'm trying to score every play. I remember we were scrimmaging the Washington Redskins, and this never happens. I looked at the offensive coordinator. It was 4th and 26. I said, Coach, let's go for it. He like 4th and 26. Like, well, what the heck? It's a preseason game. So I catch a curl route. I catch it, I spin, and I run, and I dive for the first down. And our defense goes crazy. So what I learned about that is I earned the respect of guys on the offense, but I earned the respect of guys on the defense.
Awesome, man. 4th and 26. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, man. It was a scrimmage. And I'm like, man, just put the rock in my hand. I was almost like Randy Moss, like throw me the bleed ball, but I didn't want to do that because I was still a rookie. My quarterback Chris Chandler barely talked to me until I started scoring touchdowns.
Oh my goodness! What's the biggest bit of advice you've received over your career from a teammate that helped you?
It wasn't really a teammate. It was a coach. There was 2 of them. It was Les Steck and Sherman Smith. In 1995, I led the league in yards per catch, and I made the all-rookie team. My career was going here, but my life was going there. And they sat me down. They said, Chris, if you're great on the field, but you're not great off the field, your life is going to be a disaster. And that was the best advice that was given to me. And basically what he was saying is like, man, if you give your life to Christ, things will, even if things don't go well, you still have a purpose and a destiny in your life. And that was the best advice I had, because my life was going here, but my career was going here, but my life was going here. So that was the best advice I've ever gotten.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Also the best advice I had was, I had a bad haircut. One of the players like, man, who cut your hair? And like, did Ray Charles cut your hair? I'm like, nah. Because then I looked in the mirror and it was kind of like, it was a box. I don't know if it was a gummy or a box, but it was here. And then my hairline was way back here. And I got advice like, man, you need to get that cut off. So that was another good advice that I had.
Oh my goodness.
I'm joking, man.
Now, who was your most memorable teammate that you had over your years?
Um, I would probably say Eddie George, and the reason why he was most memorable is because how hard he worked. Like we would have 2 a day practices, and he's lifting after every practice while we're in there eating, watching Judge Judy. He's out there running, running sprints and lifting and doing more stuff and actually taking yoga classes. So that's one of the most memorable teammates that I've ever been around was Eddie George. Not what he did on the field, but just how hard he worked, man, and everything that he did.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine if some of the kids out at Tennessee State can take some of those habits, and oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna create creative mindset of guys that are hard workers, man. Just bring your lunch pail to work and let's fight.
Right. Now, are you going to get out there to watch some of his games this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna be over there checking them out. I'm gonna root for him. Don't be surprised because when I get around football, I love to play. Don't be surprised if I'm running out on the field with the warm up face mask and some little bit of shoulder pads. But nah, on a serious note, I'm going to support him big time.
All right. And, I want to let everyone know what are you up to now these days?
Actually, I'm coaching high school football. I coach Montgomery Bell Academy. I've been coaching for 14 years now and just mentoring kids. I work as a counselor during the day, and then later on the day, I coach football. And I've been doing it for like 14, 15 years.
Man, so what is it like to coach kids and kind of impart your wisdom upon them?
If I had hair, I would pull it out. No, I'm just joking. No, actually, I think it's a responsibility. Number one is because somebody passed the baton to me, and my duty is to pass the baton to the next generation. And I love dealing with kids to where, people say they can't play wide receiver and all this, and they develop into great wide receivers. That's why I love coaching so much. It's developing the player, developing the mind, developing them physically. Because if you develop them, then they're gonna not just be great football players, but they're gonna be great men. They're gonna be great husbands. They're gonna be great fathers. All these things that's built in because you learn how to play football.
Gotcha, man. I tell you what, I definitely enjoyed this time tonight.
I appreciate it, man. I'm just glad you didn't laugh at my hairline right when I came on.
Oh no, man! I ain't gonna do that because it looks. First thing happened is
if I turn to the side, you can't tell. No, I'm sorry.
No, first thing that happened is I'll start laughing at your hairline, and then my hairline will go away. So no, I don't play no games like that.
No, me either, dog. No, I had a good time, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Now, you want to tell everyone where they can find you or reach out to you or anything like that?
They can get me on Facebook, and then also they can get me on Instagram. It's 81_ways. So anytime you want to get in, also, I give encouraging words every day on my page on Facebook, but also on Instagram. I do Facebook Live Wednesday at 1:30, which is off the stinking chain. And then I come back and I play the video, the same video on Instagram. So it's about encouraging you in your life and, overcoming obstacles. And, that's what I love doing right now. And then in about a month or so, I'm launching a thing called Soup for the Soul. And I'm just going to say little inserts or little quotes that's going to help you navigate your way in life when you're going through trials and tribulations. Because when you're going through trials and tribulations, all it is a setback for a setup for something great. So if you tune in 1:30 Central Time on Facebook, you're going to get a good word. But then if you miss that, go to 81_ways, WAYS, and you'll get that soul for your food so you can make it in this world.
Gotcha. Well, man, hey, I thank you for coming on, man. And this has been, of course, touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
Appreciate you, big dog.
Yes, sir.